A few months ago, Hurricane Ida hit our region hard, not so much with damaging wind, but with a deluge of water.
The rain was probably around here, give or take, about half a foot down from from the top of the green. Our boiler and our basement completely flooded here. I know my own home, my mother-in-law, we had about 1.5 feet of water. We had people here in Queens lose their lives.
Costa Constantinidis is a former city council member for this district and former chair of the city's Environmental Protection Committee.
When the water is flowing, we're getting the amount of rain that we had with Ida. Where is all the water going? It's coming downhill. There's nothing to absorb it. There are a few tree pits, as you can see here and there, but there aren't any large investments to soak up that water.
And while some say the amount of rainfall from Ida was atypical, these events are becoming more frequent.
The phrase, 100-year storm, 50-year storm. Well, I've heard that phrase in my lifetime, at least in the last 10 years, more than I ever thought I ever would.
It's getting hotter and wetter. These small tree pits are not nearly enough to capture all the water from heavy rain events. So what's the solution? It starts with the infrastructure underground and then the infrastructure above ground.
But what we really need is a long-term commitment to green infrastructure and gray infrastructure. What does that mean? We need more large sewer tanks to collect sewage. And then what we need is green infrastructure, right? Having our bioswales in our communities, creating permeable surface.
A great example of this green infrastructure is found on Staten Island, where over 90 new man-made wetlands, called bluebelts, have been constructed, with 20 more on the way, according to Dana Gum, the project lead for the last 30 years.
We've planted these wetland plants here that you see, and to create this system that will store the water during a storm that's coming out of the storm sewers over there in Highland Boulevard, and also will treat the water. This will be here basically forever. I mean, this is a permanent part of the drainage system for this neighborhood.
During Ida, this wetland held its own.
I've heard from the staff on site here, the construction staff, and also from the borough president. The borough president wrote a very good letter explaining that this space stored a lot of stormwater that otherwise would have been in streets or basements or wherever. When we have a rainstorm, a major rainstorm, the storm sewers will be collecting the water off the streets, and it'll be discharged into these bluebelts. And the water will back up at our weir.
And that's just one element of the green infrastructure. According to Constantinidis, it also includes rain gardens, green and blue roofs, bioswales, and creating more permeable surfaces. And then there's the gray infrastructure, sewers, pipes, tanks, and dams.
One of our structural failures is that our infrastructure, our sewer system was built over 100 years ago. It was built when we had millions less New Yorkers here in New York City. There needs to be a 5-borough resiliency plan. We have to look at the entirety of the city, because we're all interconnected. How we would design our city for resilience in the 21st century, knowing what we're knowing it's going to get hotter, knowing it's going to get wetter.
More heat, more water. Words of warning for a city with an aging infrastructure like New York. For CUNY TV, I'm Craig Thompson.